Alright, good morning. Today I'm going to show you how to work on number 5. So I'm on CAD 5. I have the instructions over here on the side. And this one is going to be the hardest one so far. We're going to actually attempt a toolpath on this one. And I think this is a really good one, to build some good fundamentals. So take your time on this one. It should take at least a class period probably, or most of a class period. So don't rush through this. Follow the directions good and try to do a good job on this. I'm going to turn the plate off just to make it a little less confusing. So for this one, we're trying to make some initials that we cut out on the plasma cutter. So this would be cut out of steel, so you kind of got to think about that a little bit. If you get confused with, when you're working with the cutouts of steel, if you look in that hallway, just look at like letters and words in there, and you'll see where we have to bridge some different things. So anyway, I'm going to open up, just draw a rectangle here, and I think on the instructions I asked for you to make one that has rounded corners. So I'm going to actually just make it a square, and I'm going to keep it relatively small, like a 6 by 6 square, and I'm going to round the corners right here, and I have it set at a 1/4 inch radius. I'm going to go a little higher than a 1/4 inch, so almost a 1/2 inch radius. And then I want to make sure these are 0. So I'm using the tab button again to go through the boxes. And so there's my basic rectangle. And now I'm going to grab the text button. And I'd keep it kind of simple. Don't use a text that is, crazy fancy. Pick one that is, relatively clean. And anytime you're using a plasma cutter especially, you need some really clean text. So the curves and the scroll text, use that on the, out of wood, but not so much out of metal. So I can make this bigger now, or I could always scale it up. And so, on my example, the initials have where you need a bridge. So the example is a SB, okay, and the S doesn't need any work, so I'm hitting close here, but the B is going to need some bridging. So I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger, but I don't want it too close to the edges, because if you are cutting this out on the plasma cutter, it will burn out on the edges and then fall apart. So the next thing I need to do is select my text and click and hold this to convert it to curves. So that way it's an object that I can alter. Now once I convert it to curves, I can't make any spelling changes or anything like that. It's locked in at that point. You just have to redo it if you have like a grammar issue or something like that. So now I'm attempting to do some bridging here, and this is just going to hold the inner parts of the B in place. I always make the lines a little extra long, so that way they're really easy to trim and to work with. So I'm coming over here to trim. It's also under draw, trim, and I'm going to go by boundaries, all boundaries, and I'm going to cut through this section here. So some students really struggle with this. When you're trimming this, make sure your object snaps are off. That seems to be a real common issue that we have with this. So I'm just going through here and I'm cutting all these out. So I just cut all this out, and now I have to merge it together. So I'm going to go up here, transform. See how this one's blue and this one is purple and black? So that means the black isn't actually selected, so I have to hit the shift button. So it should all be either blue or purple, and I want to change the purple to blue. So I'm going to go transform, merge, and I'm going to hit OK. Don't mess with the tolerances, that's good. So now it should be blue. So these are both blue, this is blue, so that means it's the whole shape has been connected, so that way the toolpath won't loop back around and cause problems. So now my shape is pretty good. On the instructions I asked you to align it, so I'm going to go transform group. So that just grouped these two letters together. And then I'm going to hit shift and then grab the outside, and I'm going to go transform align to centers, and that just kind of aligned the S and the B to the center. So now I'm going to do a toolpath. Now, you can do your toolpath separately, like in the instructions. I think I suggest doing it separately. So you do your S and your B one way, and then you do your outer the other way. So basically, what we're trying to do on the toolpaths is get to where the S and the B, the cutter cuts around the inside, and then on the outside we want the toolpath to go on the outside. So if I go toolpath, I'm going to do what's called routering offset, and I'm going to select the plasma tool. It should be under end mills. Okay, so I don't have a plasma tool right now, and you might not either, so that's fine. So let's just cancel out. I'm going to show you right now how to make a tool. So this is another step. So I can go tool library under setup, and then I am going to go new, and I'm going to call this the plasma tool. And I'm going to select end mill. It doesn't matter if your spelling's wrong or capitalization or anything on this, it's fine. Alright, and now on the plasma tool, I have to change the diameter to 1/16 of an inch, so 0.0625. The height doesn't really matter because on the plasma tool there is no Z. The Z is run on the machine itself, so the height really doesn't matter. It just has to be a number greater than 0, and then I hit close. So now when I select these, I should be able to go to toolpath, routering offset, and I'm going to pick the plasma tool. Hopefully it's right at the top, and now I'm going to set the depth at 0.02. It just has to be a depth greater than 0, and then I'm going to click in this box right here that says edit. And now this gets a little bit trickier here. I'm going to click on edit and exit parameters, and I'm going to click arc. And I'm going to type in 1/8 of an inch, 0.125. I'm going to tab down in 30. I'm going to go a little lower. That was my entry arc, and I'm going to do the same for my exit arc. So 0.125, angle of 30, and I hit OK. And now I'm going to go internal because I want this to go on the inside of the letters, not the outside. So then I hit OK. So now if I zoom in a little bit, you'll see that this line represents the toolpath, and it's going to show that the tool is going to go around this way. That little green is the exit and entry that we just typed in those parameters. So the tool is going to start here, and it's going to carve across this way, and then when it's done, it's going to leave right here. So that's how this should look. Now you can even watch this by hitting this button right here, and you can kind of see where it starts and stops and how it goes through that. And you can even watch it more three-dimensional, and then that way it's a little more clear to see how the machine would actually come in and cut that out. So those are some ways that, you're not going to do that a lot now, but you're going to probably need to do that later on with the more complicated projects. So it's nice to kind of figure out how to do that. So I'm going to hit perspective and go back to the top view. And now I just need to do the outside. So I have the inside done. Now it's time to do the outside. So I'm going to go toolpath, routering offset. My plasma tool should already be in there. Now I just need to go to external. So really in this, all these parameters that we just put in should be good again for this drawing. Some of these will stay. The plasma tool should stay if you don't move computers. Should stay for a long time. So now this goes around the outside. Alright, and I'm good to go here. So now I can just put my name on it, depending on what initials you used, but I can put my name on this thing, and I can hand it in. Alright, so that was number 5, and remember when you're handing it in, you're going to go save as. I'm going to type in number 5 and submit that on Schoology. Alright, have a great day.